greetings and welcome to another extremely belated video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 2 weeks ago, the next episode of Star Trek, quote-unquote Star Trek, Discovery premiered. It was called Die Trying, and these are my honest opinions about it. First of all, I had to rewrite the script because on one website I read that the title of this episode is Try Dying. So, of course, I have made a lot of absolutely inappropriate jokes, but I had to remove them after I verified what the real name is. A pity, because I think the title Try Dying was much more appropriate for this so-called story. Why so-called? Well, I have a huge problem calling this a story. This is basically a collection of scenes with no proper story structure. This is happening so often on Discovery that I start to actually question the competence of the writers. This feels like baby's first script and not something what a professional writer, aka a person who does this for a living, should produce. And again, I am not talking about this specific episode. This is a very common problem in the new shows. There is one critical thing which is missing from this whole season: motivation. We see things happening, but we don't see why they are happening. And in the very rare cases when they do give us something, some sort of an explanation, it usually makes no sense. I will ask the why question a lot in this episode. Why did the Discovery go to the future? What exactly was their plan? Let's now pretend for a moment that the reasoning behind them going to the future to get rid of the control makes sense. Spoiler, it doesn't. What exactly did they want to do there? Why are they trying to find the Federation and or Starfleet? They know nothing about them, and the Federation knows nothing about the Discovery. The Discovery crew has nothing they could offer to the Federation nor Starfleet. Their equipment is 900 years old. Their knowledge of, well, anything is 900 years old. They have absolutely nothing to offer to the Federation or Starfleet, so why are they trying to join them? What is the reason? Why don't they go to Starfleet Academy first, for example? Why don't they start a colony? Why don't they commit mass suicide if they really want to remove all of the knowledge about control? I mean, they were ready to leave all and everybody who they knew behind, knowing that they will never see them again, but committing suicide is too much for them. So now they found the Federation and they are all smiling and laughing. Why? They don't look or react like happy humans. They look like robots who are desperately trying to mimic human behavior. Also, why is Adira on the bridge? She's not a Starfleet officer, she's just a random kid, so why is she there? And also, why is she on the ship? Because she wanted is suddenly a valid reason. Tilly notices the USS Voyager J and says that this is the 11th generation of the ship. Why does Tilly know the USS Voyager? That ship was created 100 years after they left. And if you think that she doesn't recognize the Voyager, why does she start to talk about that specific ship? Also, what is funny on a flying rainforest? Why is everybody laughing? Anyway, they are greeted by Admiral Jewish Man. Sorry, I don't remember his name yet. I hopefully will in the next few episodes if we will see him more often. He is the head of Starfleet. So, not Federation, I guess. Why doesn't he have an office but instead greets them in something what looks like a shopping mall? He introduces us to the head of Starfleet Security, and if you think I will ask why is it a woman, you are wrong. I would actually be surprised if it was a man, but I will ask something else. Why is the chief of Starfleet Security a lieutenant? There is a race of some weird aliens below them, and their race is dying out, and they are called Kili. Why are they called like a dwarf from Tolkien's work? So Michael, who knows nothing about anything, of course offers that they will help the aliens. Why? Why does she assume she's better than anybody else? It's sad when the biggest problem of your show is your main character. But no, they have to be debriefed first by holograms for some reason, because that makes sense apparently, and we get a montage of the crew being debriefed, and I assume the writers thought that it was hilarious, but spoilers, it wasn't. When it finally ended, we get the only enjoyable part of this montage. The Empress gets interrogated by two holograms and David Cronenberg. She deactivates the holograms by blinking on them because it somehow works, and I'm not sure if it's really smart or really stupid, but it was entertaining. However, David Cronenberg doesn't disappear, so he's probably a real human, and he will do something to Giorgio. We won't see what exactly until some future episode, but Space Jesus, aka the great Michael Burnham, now wants to save the aliens, so it looks like they were poisoned, because of course the whole civilization can be poisoned. They ate some plants, so they would need a quote-unquote clean sample of the plant, but where to get it? And then something really stupid happens. Burnham says that in the 23rd century there was a ship which had plant samples from the whole galaxy. That's the most idiotic thing which happened in any of the new Kurtzman era shows. This one throwaway line forced me to question the competence and intelligence of the writers working in the Discovery writers' room. Do these people know how huge the fucking galaxy is? Let's imagine it would be possible to collect samples of all plants of the galaxy, which of course isn't possible. Do they realize how huge the ship would have to be? And why would anybody be so stupid and collect all of the samples? Did the writer see the Futurama movie and not understand it was a comedy and not a proper science fiction story? Also, why would they keep the samples on a tiny little starship? A starship which can be destroyed by thousands of ways, rendering all of the preservation work absolutely pointless. And another stupid thing happens. The Admiral tells her that the ship still exists after 900 years. Nope, just no. If I was the showrunner and I read the script, this would be the point in which I would fire the writer and give the story to somebody competent. So because getting the plans is critical, and if it fails the whole race could die, who do they give this mission to? Well, to the people who know nothing about the current century, of course. They jump to the ship, the USS Tikhov, and Dr. Hugh, not to be confused with Doctor Who, beams down with Michael and that weird alien woman from season 2 who came there from the Enterprise. The atmosphere on the ship is now good for the alien woman, but not for the two humans, so she doesn't have to use her breathing apparatus, but the others have to use some CGI helmets. Why do they have CGI helmets and not real helmets? Also, why do they have them for one shot and they don't use them anymore later? Also, they see a holo recording of a family and are followed by a glitching guy. Why is there suddenly a glitching guy? Let's summarize this episode so far, okay? We start this episode with finding the Federation, then it's suddenly a medical urgency episode, then it suddenly changes to a comedy, then it suddenly changes to a story about a guy who is slightly out of phase with the others, and none of these stories are properly connected to each other. That's why I said in the beginning that this doesn't feel like a story but like a connection of different scenes, and every scene has a different tone and even belongs to a different genre. So this last thing should be its own episode, but in the last few minutes we suddenly are introduced to new characters and are supposed to feel for them, but in the end of course Michael gets the plant samples and the weird alien lady decides to stay there with the weird glitchy guy. Why? I don't know, maybe they thought they explained it by I won't even pretend I care. I guess this is supposed to be emotional, but I know nothing about her. The only thing I know is that she came from the USS Enterprise in season 2 and that she said yum yum before she helped the Empress kill the guy. I don't even know her name. Why should I care about her leaving the show? I mean, I care more about what happened to Kyle and Leslie from the original series than what happens to her. This series fails miserably in making me care for the characters. The funny thing is that I have this problem only with Discovery in Picard. they fail in making an emotional connection. Oh wait, sorry, they did make an emotional connection to me with the characters in Picard, because I hated them all, and hate is an emotion. Anyway, the Discovery crew are the heroes. Nobody questions where the weird alien lady is, because I guess Michael has the authority to release her from Starfleet. Isn't she now, by the way, technically a deserter? But Admiral Jewish Man now believes their crazy story and wants to use them and their ship, and the only important thing is, in the end, that Empress Giorgio is weird. Michael talks to her, but she doesn't move for a while, so I guess David Cronenberg has played with her brain or something. Hopefully we will see an explanation in the future. This episode made me sad. Very sad, because it's just depressing to see a product and know that the writers who are being paid for this have spent less time thinking about this episode than an absolute nobody who is trying to analyze it in his room in his free time, absolutely for free. On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 2 out of 10. It's time to check episode 6 ASAP, and probably also episode 7. It depends on when I will be able to finish this video, but as always, these were just my opinions. Let me know what did you think about this episode down in the comment section, and I'll be back with another video very soon, maybe even tomorrow, or worst case in 2 days. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon. Bye.